night had no stars. Only a blood-red moon burned above the black city of Nocthra. Its light touched every roof, every stone, every tower built from bone and steel. Drums echoed through the empty streets, slow, heavy, like a heart that refused to die. Inside the grand cathedral, thousands of vampires gathered. Their eyes glowed in the dark like dying embers. Tonight was sacred. The Duskborn clan would crown their new ruler on the throne of blood, a living seat made from bones of kings and veins that still pulsed with crimson light. High Priestess Nyxa raised her hands. Her long veil floated like smoke. "Tonight," she said, "our blood becomes eternity." The crowd whispered the same words, their voices like rustling knives. Then silence. A cold wind entered the hall. Candles flickered. Someone new had stepped inside. A man in torn clothes, eyes shining silver, skin pale as ash. He looked lost, but his presence made even the elders uneasy. He was Selarion, a name no one yet knew, but one every soul would soon fear. He did not remember who he was. Only pain, only fire, and a whisper that haunted him. The heart returns. As Nyxa placed the black crown upon the ruler's head, the ground shook violently. Walls cracked. The throne began to bleed. Screams filled the air as light exploded from beneath it, a storm of blood and flame. Selarion fell to his knees, clutching his chest. A burning mark appeared there, a red symbol shaped like a heart. Every vampire stopped and stared. Nyxa gasped, voice trembling. "The heart of the first vampire," she cried. "It lives again." The red light swallowed everything. For a moment, the cathedral became a sea of fire. When the smoke cleared, nothing was left alive, only silence and the smell of blood. Selarion stood at the center of the ruins. His silver eyes now glowed brighter, mixed with crimson veins. He looked at his hands, covered in strange light. He whispered, "What am I?" From the upper balcony, Queen Seraphine watched. Her armor was black with red edges. Her eyes burned like living coals. She smiled, not in fear but in recognition. "The prophecy is true," she murmured. "The war has begun." Far across the dark mountains, Lord Varkane opened his golden eyes. "So, the mortal born awakens," he said softly, "and the night will drown in its own blood." The bells of Nocthra rang through the city. Vampires woke in their graves. The air itself seemed to scream. The coronation was over. The empire had changed. The war of immortals had begun. The fire in Nocthra's cathedral still burned when the news spread. The throne of blood had cracked. The new ruler was dead, and a stranger had awakened something older than time. Across the dark lands, every vampire clan felt the change. The wind carried the scent of new blood, powerful, ancient, forbidden. It was the signal they had feared for centuries. The balance of night was broken. The House of Vane. Far in the eastern mountains stood the silver palace of House Vane. Its halls shone like mirrors. Every wall was made from polished bone. Here lived Lord Varkane, the most elegant and dangerous of all vampire lords. He drank from crystal cups, never spilling a drop. When the messenger arrived with news of the throne's destruction, Varkane only smiled. "Ah," he said, his golden eyes glowing. "So, the game begins again." He turned to his followers, tall vampires in white armor. "Prepare our armies. If the heart has returned, it belongs to me." The servants bowed deeply. None dared to meet his eyes. They said Varkane could kill with a whisper and bring the dead back with a kiss. The Crimson Court, far below the burning deserts, deep inside red caverns. The Crimson Court gathered around pools of boiling blood. Their queen, Lady Allura, was half mad with hunger. She wore no crown, only chains of gold and ruby. Her voice was sharp like broken glass. "The mortal born," she hissed. "His blood smells of the first one. I want it." Her soldiers roared. Thousands of eyes glowed red in the dark. They were beasts, half mind and full thirst. When Allura lifted her hand, the whole cave shook. "Find him," she said. "Bring me his heart. Let the world drown in red." The Hollow Fangs. In a black forest of thorns, the Hollow Fangs built their fortress around a burning tree. Their queen, Seraphine, stood alone on a tower balcony. She had watched the chaos in Nocthra. She had seen the silver-eyed man rise from the fire. Her advisor bowed beside her. "My queen," he said. "Shall we hunt him?" Seraphine's eyes were bright and unreadable. "No," she whispered. "Not yet." She turned toward the blood-red sky. "He is more than prey. He is prophecy." The advisor frowned. "You believe the old words?" Seraphine smiled faintly. "I believe what I saw. When the heart beats again, the night will end." She looked at her soldiers below, silent, ready, waiting. "Until then," she said, "we watch. And when he comes, we protect him, or destroy him." The Duskborn. In the ruins of the broken cathedral, High Priestess Nyxa crawled from the ashes. Her body was burned, her veil in flames, but she was alive. The throne's power had not killed her, it had changed her. Her voice was deeper now, almost inhuman. Her eyes glowed black, not red. She looked at the ruined hall and smiled. "The heart has returned," she whispered, "and soon the gods of old will wake." She pressed her hands into the blood-soaked floor. Symbols of shadow spread like cracks across the stone. "Let the other clans fight. Let them burn. When they are gone, only the Duskborn will remain." The mortal born, far from all kingdoms, in a silent valley of mist, Selarion wandered alone. He had no memory of how he escaped the fire. Every step he took left a mark that glowed faintly red. He felt the world pulling him, the sky, the ground, the blood inside the wind. At night, voices whispered his name. At dawn, nightmares showed him flashes of faces, fangs, eyes, a throne made of bones. He found a pool of dark water and looked at his reflection. For a moment, the face he saw was not his own. It was older, sharper, cruel. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Who am I?" A woman's voice answered from the mist, "You are the beginning of the end." Selarion turned. Queen Seraphine stood there, her cape flowing like smoke. Her eyes glowed faint gold under the red sky. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "I go where fate bleeds," she answered. "Do you know what you carry, mortal born?" He shook his head slowly. Seraphine stepped closer. "Inside you," she said softly, "beats the heart that created us all." Selarion's eyes widened. "Then why am I still alive?" "Because," she said, her voice cold and sad, "the night isn't done with you yet." The wind rose. Far away, the first thunder of war echoed through the land. The clans had awakened. The throne had chosen. And the Blood Empire was ready to burn. The night after Seraphine found Selarion, the air was thick with red mist. They hid inside an abandoned temple carved into the side of a cliff. The walls were covered with strange symbols, drawn in blood centuries ago. Every mark seemed to move when the light touched it. Selarion sat near a dying fire. His silver eyes glowed softly in the darkness. He still felt the burn on his chest, the mark that appeared during the coronation. It pulsed like a living thing. Seraphine watched him quietly. "You are not like us," she said. "You walk under moonlight, but your heart still beats. You breathe." Selarion looked at her. "Then what am I?" She hesitated. "A key," she said. "A curse. And maybe the end." She told him the legend, the one all vampires whispered but never believed. Long before any clan existed, there was the first vampire, a creature born from the union of blood and fire. He ruled the night alone, feeding on gods and men alike. But he feared his own power, so he tore out his heart and hid it inside a mortal. That mortal died, and the heart was lost for thousands of years. Until now, Seraphine said softly. You are that mortal reborn. Selarion stared into the fire. If that is true, then my blood will bring war. Seraphine nodded slowly. The prophecy says, when the first heart beats again, the sun will rise and burn the immortal sky. Selarion frowned. So I bring the end of vampires? Maybe, she said. Or maybe something worse. Outside, the world was already moving. In the Eastern Palace, Lord Varkane held a council with his generals. Maps of blood and ash covered the table. The mortal born must not fall into the Hollow Queen's hands, he said. If the heart is alive, it can command us all. We will take him dead or alive. His soldiers bowed, armor clinking like blades. Varkane smiled, sharp and cold. Let the war begin. Deep underground, in the red caverns of the Crimson Court, Queen Allura prepared her army. She dipped her hands into a pool of burning blood. The liquid hissed, crawling up her arms like fire. She whispered, "The heart calls. I can hear it in the earth." Her priest answered, "The others will come." Allura smiled. "Let them come. Their ashes will paint my throne." In the ruins of the cathedral, High Priestess Nyxa drew a circle of black flame around her. She had become something new, half shadow, half blood. Her voice was not one voice anymore. It echoed as if many spoke through her. "The first one returns," she said. "And with him the gate shall open." From the cracks in the floor, pale hands began to rise, skeletons of old vampires, long buried. Nyxa smiled as their empty eyes glowed. "Wake, my children. The night of gods is near." Back in the temple, Selarion tried to sleep, but each time he closed his eyes, he saw visions: a throne built from bones, rivers of fire, and himself standing in the center of it all. In his dream, a voice spoke from the darkness. "The throne remembers you. The blood remembers you. Come home, first one." He woke up screaming. Seraphine was already awake, watching him. "The mark on your chest," she said. "It's growing." He looked down. The symbol was glowing brighter now, pulsing like a second heartbeat. The walls trembled. Outside, the red mist thickened. "Someone knows where we are," Seraphine said. Selarion stood, his eyes burning silver and red. "Then let them come." Minutes later, the temple doors exploded. A dozen vampires in white armor charged in soldiers of the House of Vane. Their swords shone with golden fire. Varkane himself stepped forward, his smile calm and cruel. "Give me the heart," he said, "and I will make your death gentle." Selarion's hand burned with red light. He did not understand how, but energy moved through him, alive, violent, unstoppable. He raised his hand, and the ground shattered. The soldiers were thrown back, crushed by invisible force. Varkane's smile vanished. "You don't even know what you are," he hissed. "No," Selarion said quietly. "But I know what you are afraid." Varkane lunged, but Seraphine moved faster. Her blade met his, sparks flying like stars. The temple shook as the three powers clashed, blood, fire, and prophecy colliding in the dark. When it was over, the temple was gone. Only ashes remained, and from the smoke, two figures rose, Seraphine and Selarion, covered in blood but alive. She looked at him and said, "Now they all know your face. The war will never stop." Selarion looked at the burning sky. His voice was quiet, but strong. "Then I will stop the night itself." Smoke covered the sky for 3 days. Everywhere the wind blew. It carried ash and the smell of burned stone. In the middle of that ruined land, Seraphine and Selarion walked in silence. They had escaped the temple, but the war had begun to follow them. Selarion's mark still glowed faintly through his torn shirt. It pulsed like a second heart. Each time it beat, The air around him trembled. He tried to hide it, but Seraphine could feel it, from far away, a living fire she could not control. They reached the black forest of the Hollow Fangs. The trees there were twisted, their leaves sharp like blades. At the center stood Seraphine's fortress, tall towers built from glass and bones. The flames from the war reflected on the walls, making them look alive. Inside the fortress, soldiers kneeled when their queen entered. Every eye watched the stranger beside her. Whispers filled the hall. Is he the mortal? Born? Is he the heart? Seraphine raised her hand, and silence fell. This man is under my protection, she said. Anyone who touches him will burn. She led Selarion into her private chamber, a room of black stone lit by hundreds of candles. On the walls hung paintings of old queens, their eyes painted red. In the center stood a silver mirror cracked down the middle. Seraphine removed her armor. Underneath, scars glowed faintly across her skin lines of ancient battles. She looked at her reflection and whispered, "Every queen wears her crown in blood." Selarion turned to her. "Why help me?" She smiled without joy. "Because I saw what you did in that temple. You could destroy us all, or save us." "I don't want power," he said. "I just want peace." "Peace?" she repeated softly. "There is no peace for monsters." A sudden tremor shook the tower. Outside, red lightning flashed. One of her guards rushed in. "My queen! The Duskborn are attacking from the east!" Seraphine's eyes turned bright fire. "Prepare the walls! Bring the shadow cannons!" Then she looked at Selarion. "Stay here. You are not ready for this war." But Selarion stepped forward. "I will not hide." The mark on his chest glowed stronger, a burning heart of crimson light. The candles around them flickered, some melting in seconds. Seraphine stared in awe. "Your power is growing." He clenched his fists. "If I can end this, I will." She touched his face gently, her voice low. "Then promise me one thing. Don't let the throne claim you. It whispers, lies. It feeds on hope. Henotted. I promise." Outside the fortress, the forest had turned to smoke. Thousands of Duskborn soldiers marched with black banners and torches that burned without fire. Above them flew High Priestess Nyxa, her body half shadow, half flame. She spread her arms, and the sky turned dark as ink. "The heart is near," she shouted. "Bring me the mortal. Bring me the dawn." Arrows made of shadow rained upon the walls. Seraphine's cannons roared back, firing streams of burning blood. The forest screamed, as both sides clashed darkness against flame. Selarion ran to the ramparts. The sight froze him. Thousands dying, the ground drinking their blood. He felt pain deep inside his chest, as if every heartbeat of his was killing someone below. Then, through the smoke, he saw Varkane again, his golden armor shining through the black. The Lord smiled, raising his blade toward Selarion. "Come down, mortal. Let us finish what began." Selarion's eyes burned silver. He lifted his hand, and the sky cracked with red light. A wave of force burst from him, knocking soldiers aside like dust. But it also hit Seraphine's own troops. The walls began to fall. "Stop!" Seraphine screamed. "You'll destroy us all!" He tried to control it, but the power kept growing, wild and furious. The mark on his chest turned white hot, and for a moment, the whole world went silent. Then, an explosion of light. When the dust cleared, the forest was gone. Nothing left but ash and glass. Seraphine stood in the center, her armor melted, her hair turned silver from the heat. Selarion lay beside her, barely breathing. She touched his face, tears of blood falling on his skin. "You are the queen of ash and flame now," he whispered weakly. She looked around, her kingdom destroyed, Her soldiers turned to dust. He was right. She had become both. In the distance, the blood moon rose higher, brighter, larger, and from the ruins, Nyxa's voice echoed through the night. The first heart awakens. The dawn will bleed. Seraphine held Selarion close. Her eyes glowed like fire. If the world wants war, she said quietly, then I will give it one. The night sky turned red as blood. The moon seemed closer now, huge and watching, like an eye that never blinked. Across the land, fire spread where forests once stood. The vampire clans had all risen. The war of immortals had begun. Seraphine's fortress was gone. The hollow fangs had fallen. Only smoke and bones marked where her kingdom once stood. She rode across the black plains with Selarion at her side. His chest still burned with the light of the first heart. They stopped by a ruined bridge. Selarion looked at the ashes in the air. All this because of me, he said quietly. Seraphine shook her head. No, because of what you carry. They fear it. He turned to her. Then tell me how to destroy it. She looked away. It cannot be destroyed. The heart is eternal. It feeds on desire, on blood, on power, on love. She paused. Even mine. A faint smile crossed Selarion's face. Then maybe it feeds on hope too. She said nothing, but her eyes softened just for a moment. Far away, inside his shining palace, Lord Varkane gathered his army. Thousands of vampires in white armor stood in perfect lines. Each held a silver spear burning with golden fire. The banners of House Vane waved under the red wind. Varkane stood at the balcony, his golden eyes glowing like suns. The mortal-born hides with the Hollow Queen, he said. By dawn, bring me his body, or bring me her head. The soldiers roared. They marched out into the darkness, their footsteps echoing like drums of war. Deep below the earth, in the caverns of the Crimson Court, Queen Allura listened to the same wind. She stood before a river of blood, her reflection twisting with each ripple. Her voice was cold. Let them fight each other. When they are weak, we will strike. The throne will be mine. She turned to her generals. Wake the blood beasts. Her command echoed like thunder. From cages made of bone, creatures began to move ancient vampires, chained for centuries, their eyes glowing red with hunger. And above all, in the ruins of Nocthra's cathedral, High Priestess Nyxa prayed in shadow. Around her stood hundreds of duskborn worshippers, faces hidden behind masks. Her voice was low, dark, endless. The heart is near. The gods of night are listening. The air trembled as black mist rose from the ground. Whispers filled the hall. Not human, not alive. The throne awakens, the voices said. Nyxa smiled. Yes, soon. On the battlefield near the broken river, Seraphine and Selarion saw lights approaching gold and white. The House of Vane, Seraphine said. They've found us. Selarion took a deep breath. He could feel the heart beating faster, like it wanted the fight. He drew his blade. It was black, glowing faintly red. Then let them come. The armies met under the red moon. The clash was deafening steel against bone, screams against thunder. Vampires leapt through the air like shadows with wings. Fire and blood covered the earth. Selarion fought with fury he did not understand. Every strike from his blade sent waves of red light through the field. Enemies turned to dust. Even the ground cracked under his steps. Seraphine moved beside him, swift, graceful, deadly. Her sword burned with living flame. Together they cut through the armies like storm and fire. But then, a horn blew a sound deep and terrible. Varkane himself entered the field, his armor glowing like molten gold. Selarion, he shouted, your blood belongs to me. He raised his hand, and a spear of light flew through the air. It hit Seraphine, throwing her back into the ashes. She screamed as her armor broke and flames wrapped around her body. Selarion ran to her, No! He touched her shoulder, but his hand started to burn. Her skin was turning to fire, yet she looked at him and smiled weakly. Don't stop, she whispered. End this. Selarion turned of arcane, rage filling his eyes. The heart inside him roared. Red lightning flashed from the sky, striking the ground in every direction. Vampires screamed as the light consumed them. Varkane raised his sword to block, but the power was too strong. The blast threw him miles away, his armor shattered, his body bleeding gold. When the light faded, the field was silent. Only ashes moved in the wind. Selarion fell to his knees, gasping. The mark on his chest now glowed bright white. He felt something inside him break a wall, a memory. In his mind, he saw a throne of bone and a voice whispering, "You cannot fight what you are." He opened his eyes. Seraphine was gone. Only her crown lay on the ground, burned black. Selarion picked it up with shaking hands. He looked at the red moon and whispered, "If the throne wants me, it will have to bleed for it." Far away, in the shadows, Nyxa smiled. "Good," she whispered. "Let the heart remember its master." And high above, the moon turned darker, as if the heavens themselves feared what was coming next. The battlefield was silent. The ground was black with ash and bones. No birds flew, no wind blew. Only the red moon above still watched, cold and cruel. Selarion stood alone. In his hands, he held Seraphine's crown, burned and cracked. The mark on his chest pulsed weakly now, like a dying star. He could still hear her last words. "Don't stop." He fell to his knees. For a moment, the world seemed to fade. Then he heard footsteps behind him. "Grief suits you," a soft voice said. Selarion turned. Out of the smoke came High Priestess Nyxa, her veil blacker than shadow. Her eyes were pure darkness, glowing faintly with silver veins. "You did well," she said calmly. "The house of Vayne is broken. The hollow fangs are gone. Soon, only the Duskborn will remain." Selarion's voice was low. You planned this?" Nyxa smiled. "Of course. Every drop of blood, every scream, every death, all for one purpose." She touched his chest, her hand cold as ice. The heart must awaken fully. He grabbed her wrist. "You used me. I guided you," she whispered. "You were blind. I showed you your path." He pushed her away. "You're lying." "Am I?" Nyxa said softly. "Do you even remember what you are?" Her words echoed in his mind. Memories flashed, flashes of fire, a throne, shadows bowing before him, and his own voice whispering ancient words. He stumbled back, shaking his head. "No, that can't be me." Nyxa's smile widened. The first vampire tore out his heart to hide his power, but his soul lived on waiting for the heart to return to him. She stepped closer. "You are not the heir of the first vampire, Selarion. You are the first vampire." The world seemed to stop. Selarion froze. "No, that's impossible." "Your blood remembers," she said. "Your power remembers. Even the throne remembers." The air grew cold. The mark on his chest began to glow again, brighter, stronger, alive. He screamed as light burst from his body, red and white, mixing like flame and snow. Nyxa's voice turned sharp. "Yes, that's it. Let it out. Let the god of blood rise again." Selarion fell to the ground, trembling. Visions filled his mind of kingdoms burning, of himself sitting on the throne of blood, commanding armies that devoured the world. He saw Seraphine's face, then her ashes turning to dust. He shouted in pain, "Stop!" The light vanished. When he looked up, Nyxa was gone. Only her laughter remained, echoing across the dead land. Far away, under the ruins of Nocthra, Nyxa reappeared in her dark temple. Hundreds of Duskborn knelt before her. At the center stood a coffin made of glass and black stone. Inside it, a faint fire burned. "Prepare the vessel," she said. "The queen will rise." Her servants opened the coffin. Inside lay Seraphine's body, pale, still, but not dead. Nyxa placed her hand on Seraphine's chest and whispered old words, words that tasted like ashes. The fire inside the coffin grew brighter. Seraphine's eyes opened, glowing red and gold at once. She gasped, sitting up, confused and weak. Where am I?" "In my care," Nyxa said. "You fell. I saved you." Seraphine looked around, her memories foggy. "Selarion," she whispered. Nyxa smiled softly. "He lives, but he is changing. Soon he will not be Selarion anymore." "What do you mean?" "The heart consumes him," Nyxa said. "He was never yours. He was always mine." Seraphine's eyes flashed. "You lie." Nyxa laughed, cold, echoing. "Then find out yourself." She turned away, leaving Seraphine alone in the dark temple. Guards stood at the doors. The queen looked down at her hands. They were covered in faint red cracks, like veins of fire under her skin. "I should be dead," she whispered. But deep inside her, something else whispered back. "You were chosen." That night, Selarion woke from a nightmare. He was in a cave, the fire burning weakly beside him. Outside, rain fell black as ink. He felt empty, hollow. The voice in his head was louder now. "Come to the throne. Finish what you began." He stood slowly, picking up Seraphine's crown. Lightning flashed across the sky, and in that moment, he saw something far away. A glowing red mountain in the distance, shaped like a heart. He knew what it was. The throne of blood was calling him home. Back in the temple, Seraphine rose from her bed. Her strength was returning, but her soul felt strange. She looked in the mirror, her reflection blinked half a second later than she did. Her voice came out lower, deeper. Nyxa's magic had changed her. Her blood burned with new power. She whispered, "If he is coming to the throne, then I will follow." The guards tried to stop her, but she moved like fire. Their swords melted in her hands. The temple doors burst open as she walked out into the storm. The rain hissed when it touched her skin. She looked up at the dark sky. "Selarion," she whispered, "wait for me." Far above, in the red clouds, Nyxa watched everything. Her voice echoed in the thunder. "Good," she said. "Let them both come. One will rule, one will burn. Either way, the Duskborn will have their god." The lightning flashed brighter, forming, for a second, the shape of a throne made of bones and blood, and the war of immortals moved toward its final dawn. The blood moon had not set for 7 nights. Its red light covered the land like fire that would never die. Mountains turned black, rivers dried, and the screams of the dying echoed like prayers lost in wind. At the heart of the wasteland stood Mount Nocthra, the mountain shaped like a heart. Inside it, something ancient stirred a sound like thunder mixed with a heartbeat. The throne of blood was waking. Selarion climbed the black rocks alone. The mark on his chest burned brighter with every step. He could feel the mountain calling him, whispering in 1,000 voices, "Come home." His eyes glowed silver and red. His skin looked colder than stone. The mortal part of him was fading. The god within was returning. At the mountain's base, hundreds of soldiers from every clan gathered, drawn by fear and prophecy. Even enemies stood side by side, watching the sky as lightning split the clouds. They saw him, the mortal born, walking into the storm and fell silent. "He goes to the throne," one whispered. "And when he sits upon it," said another, "the night itself will die." Far away, Seraphine walked through a desert of ash. She no longer felt hunger or pain. The magic Nyxa had placed in her blood made her half flame, half shadow. Her eyes burned gold when she looked toward the mountain. "I can feel him," she whispered. "He's calling for the throne." A horse made of black smoke appeared before her. She mounted it without fear and rode into the storm. Her fire lit the path behind her, a single streak of gold in the red night. Inside the mountain, the throne chamber opened. It was vast walls made from veins of glowing stone, dripping with liquid light. At the center stood the throne of blood, alive and breathing, its surface covered in veins that pulsed slowly. It waited for its master. Selarion stepped closer. Every heartbeat echoed louder. Each step made the floor shake. The voices grew stronger. "You were never lost. You were only asleep." He stopped at the edge of the throne. "I am not your slave," he said. But the throne whispered back, "You are my maker." He reached out his hand, and the throne reached back. Blood and light flowed between them. Visions filled his mind. The creation of night, the first scream, the first kill, the moment he tore out his own heart. He gasped, "I was the first vampire." The throne pulsed faster. "Yes," it said in his mind, "and I am your heart. Together, we will end the lie of life." Selarion fell to his knees. His body shook as the light wrapped around him. Outside, the sky bled rain. Lightning formed faces, kings, queens, monsters all screaming. At that same moment, High Priestess Nyxa arrived at the mountain with her duskborn army. Her voice rose above the storm. "Bow to your god," she cried. "The dawn dies tonight." The ground split open, and rivers of blood poured toward the throne. The duskborn knelt, chanting Nyxa's name, but the power in the air began to change wild and angry. Selarion stood, his eyes now glowing white. He looked at Nyxa and said, "You lied to me." She smiled. "I gave you truth. You were never meant to love. You were meant to rule." "I don't want a throne," he said. "I want peace." Nyxa laughed. "Then die with your peace." She raised her hands. Black fire surrounded her. The dead soldiers of all clans began to rise from the blood, pale, empty, hungry. They turned their faces toward Selarion. He closed his eyes. "Forgive me." The mark on his chest burst open in a flash of red light. Wings of fire unfolded behind him, not feathers, but veins of living light. Every undead creature burned instantly to ash. The whole mountain shook. Even Nyxa stumbled back, fear on her face for the first time. Then, from the smoke, Seraphine appeared, her body glowing gold, her eyes burning like stars. She looked at Selarion and whispered, "You're losing yourself." "I have already lost everything," he said. The throne's voice echoed again. "Sit, my king. Together, we end the dawn." Selarion turned away. "No," Nyxa screamed. "You cannot resist what you are." Seraphine raised her sword, flames swirling around her. "Then we'll burn what he was." Light and shadow collided. Selarion and Seraphine fought Nyxa together, gods and queen and monster. Every strike shook the mountain. Blood and fire rained from the ceiling. In the end, Nyxa fell, her body turning to dust. But the throne still pulsed, alive and hungry. Selarion looked at it, his voice breaking. "If I destroy you, the night dies. If I sit upon you, I become death." Seraphine took his hand. "There must be another way." He looked at her, eyes full of pain. "There isn't." He stepped toward the throne one last time. It glowed bright, calling his name. Seraphine whispered, "Selarion, please." He turned to her, smiling faintly. "You once said peace doesn't exist for monsters. You were wrong." He pressed his hand to her heart. A spark of red light moved from him to her. She gasped, her chest now glowing with the same mark he once carried. Then Selarion turned to the throne. "Sleep," he whispered. The heart's light exploded, covering the world. When the light faded, the mountain was silent. The throne stood still, dark, cold, empty. Seraphine fell to her knees, tears of blood in her eyes. Selarion was gone. The dawn broke for the first time in centuries. The red moon vanished, and from the ashes, the world began to breathe again. The first light of dawn touched the horizon. For the first time in 1,000 years, the sky was not red. It was pale gold, quiet, strange, and new, but no one was left to see it. The mountain of Nyxa lay silent. Its black heart no longer beat. The throne of blood was cold stone, now dead and still. And where Selarion had stood, only ashes remained. Queen Seraphine knelt beside the throne. Her armor was broken, her hands burned, but her heart still glowed with the mark he had given her. It pulsed, gently slow, steady like a human heartbeat. She whispered, "You kept your promise." She could still hear his last words echoing in her mind. "Sleep, my queen. Let the night end with me." She closed her eyes, and tears of blood rolled down her face. Each tear glowed like fire before falling to the ground. The earth drank them, and where they fell, small white flowers began to grow. The age of vampires was ending. Across the land, the immortal clans turned to dust one by one. The House of Vane vanished into silence. The Crimson Court's caverns collapsed into red stone. The Duskborn temples crumbled, their black fire dying forever. Only Seraphine remained, half vampire, half flame, half something new. The mark on her chest connected her to the throne, but it did not control her. It breathed inside her like a promised life through sacrifice. She stood and looked at the broken world below. Ashes floated in the wind like snow. The rivers of blood had turned clear again. The moon faded behind the rising sun. In that light, Seraphine saw shadows moving, ghosts of the old clans, watching silently. She spoke softly. "He freed you. Go now. Sleep." The ghosts bowed and disappeared, their forms melting into the light. Far below the mountain, in the ruins of a forgotten city, something stirred. A child, pale, small, with silver eyes, woke in the dust. He had no memory, only a soft red glow on his chest. He looked at the morning sun and smiled. The light did not burn him. It warmed him. He whispered a name he did not know where he had learned. Seraphine. And then he laughed. An innocent sound. Pure and alive. The first vampire's curse had broken. But a new life had begun, the same blood. Born clean. At the top of the mountain, Seraphine felt the change. The air was lighter. The pain in her chest eased. She turned toward the sunrise. The throne behind her cracked slowly, releasing a faint red mist. It whispered one last time, "You cannot destroy the night. Only change it." She smiled sadly, then let it rest. She raised her sword now, a blade of gold and fire, and struck the throne. It shattered like glass. A wave of light spread across the land, washing away the last darkness. The blood moon vanished completely. The world sighed alive again. Years passed. The people who once feared the dark now built cities under sunlight. They told stories of the blood empire of gods who ruled the night and one who ended it, but no one remembered their names. Only legends remained. And sometimes, on a red sunset, travelers said they saw a woman in black armor standing at the edge of the sky, her eyes glowing like gold fire. She watched the world quietly, a small smile on her lips. When the wind blew, the air carried her whisper. He sleeps, and the night dreams with him. The mountain became a valley. The valley became a field. And every year, red flowers bloomed there, shaped like tiny hearts. The people called them the tears of Seraphine. And under their roots, deep within the earth, something still pulsed, not evil, not hunger, just memory. The heart of the first vampire, waiting, not for war, but for the next dream. End of the Blood Empire Saga.